Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I think we should start without any delay. So, good afternoon and welcome all of you. I am pleased to inform you that under the guidance of our Director General, Faiz Ahmed Kidwai, Additional Secretary Marketing, Government of India, and our Director, Dr. Sapna Noura, we have taken the initiative of organizing this webinar series addressing the challenges and opportunities for startups. So, I also like to welcome our today's keynote speaker, Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma, and would like to extend my heartiest thanks for accepting our request to be part of this first edition of this webinar series, Igniting Innovations. Though Mr. Mavi Pratashna does not require any introduction, but for the benefit of everyone, I'll just brief about his profile. Sir is a serial entrepreneur and part of various businesses and social organizations. Beside that, he is a passionate angel investor, startup mentor, who has also recently launched his own venture fund in the name of Station Ventures. He's an entrepreneur actively working in different industry sectors, including jewelry, carpet, industrial park, retail, art, marketing, PR, events, and many more, and has been engaged in policy advocacy by being the office bearer of many organizations. He's actively involved in the Indian startup ecosystem and has been part of a popular TV show Horses Stable. As an investor, he has invested in many startups from different domains. Also, is as a lead mentor and director on many startup boards globally. Sir has held many key positions across various businesses and social organizations. He is among the founding members of TIE in Rajasthan and has reached up to the level of the TIE Global, chairing TIE Global and Board of Trustees as the first Asian to achieve this milestone. He is also the chair recently announced TIE India Angels, an initiative of TIE Global. He is the co-founder and chairman of Rajasthan Angel Innovator Network, an integral part of an angel investor network of Rajasthan. He is founding vice chairman of Rajasthan Export Promotion Council, and he has been the chairman of the Carpet Export Promotion Council, the apex body of handmade carpets at the Textile Ministry. He has been the president of the Rajasthan Carpet Manufacturer and Exporter Association as well. And sir, before we start, I'd like to inform you that today we have with us starters from across the country, and not just from agri domain, but from different sectors. Incubation units of our partner institutions like IIT Kharagpur. I think someone is unmuted. Can you please check this? Institutions like IIT Kharagpur, NRI Cuttack, Bihar Agriculture University, SKN Agriculture University. So before I start, Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma, I request Dr. Ravi Kumar Goyal, Chief Operating Officer of our center, for a formal welcome remarks, please.
Thank you, Rahul. So, on behalf of our Director General, Chief Hajab and Director Dr. Sapna, I would like to welcome today's speaker, Chief Bhavit Sharma. So, as mentioned by Rahul, we have recently started our new cohort. So, today's participants are from across the country, including our partner Abis. So, once again, I would like to welcome Chief Bhavit Sharma. Thank you, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
So, sir, I think without any delay, now we'll request Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma to start, please.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Kumar. It's always a pleasure to be there at NIAM when possible on the demo day, or to have a class or a mentoring session prior in the joining of the session. So I think agriculture and in particular NIAM is doing a great work, and I think the not just the education but support and ecosystem partnership that startups require. It's very, very critical, and all of you are doing a great job. So congratulations and thank you for having me with all of you. Now to the young startups who are joining this cohort, and obviously, I presume that you already are having an idea, have done a prototype, or trying to do a prototype, trying to go to market and see if you can actually test and see if it's viable or not. Um, Assuming that you're middle of these three stages, whether a prototype needs to be made, or a prototype needs to be validated, or the market needs to be validated with what you have produced. So under these circumstances, and assuming that you're all in this situation, I will try and sum up my conversation in 15 to 20 minutes, just to give you a broad idea of the startup ecosystem in India that exists, and what careful steps that you can take for the future growth. So quite honestly, India is poised to grow. I think the startup ecosystem in India is absolutely vibrant. Tier two, tier three cities have a huge potential because their costs of operations are down, and with investors looking at the bottom line rather than just the revenues, it's very important that you keep your expenses low, your work lean, and you continue to grow and scale up despite funding or with funding. So it's very important that the future of startups in tier two, tier three cities is absolutely bright and brilliant. Now, in the sector of social impact, in the sector of agri-tech, in the sector of biomedics, this is absolutely a great sector. I mean, I've said that not once, but many times. I look at this sector where we have not even started to scratch the surface in India. I think India, in terms of agriculture or agriculture-based products or services, in terms of penetration in rural India, India has a huge potential. And I think there is a problem, or rather there are problems that need to be solved, and I think you're absolutely in the right direction if you are thinking of starting to work in this sector or across sectors or related to these sectors, or sectors that are dependent on the supply side or outreach or the sales to these the rural India. So I think Bharat has a huge potential. Technology can disrupt so much, and the government of India, the Aadhaar card, the Krishi, Yojnas that government of India has, the outreach, the data, the open stack, it's absolutely something that is to be encashed. And I think startups like you are rightly poised and rightly should be handling all of this. So India as a growth sector, as a growth, no doubts about it. We're absolutely in the right place at the right time. Number one. Now, obviously, if you have your product assigned, if you have your service assigned, if you know what you're doing, it's very important that you understand that whatever you are doing, you should have some sort of an advantage over other people. So let's say if you are saying that you're going to rural India and doing something to do with the crops, or something to do with monitoring the crop, or something to do with enhancing the production of the crop, or you have something that is e-commerce and which is helping trade from smaller cities, whatever that you're trying to do, you have to understand if someone else is doing it, if someone else has already done it and tried, and if you don't have any experience, not any advantage, or on the prototype or on the product, it is not advisable to try and do something, simply because multiple reasons. Number one, someone has already done it or tried it and failed. It's because it is a very difficult and high difficulty scalable model. Because penetrating Indian rural market, or penetrating Indian rural farmers, on penetrating anyone that can emphasize on a D2C brand coming from rural India, is a huge market, because the burn is always going to be high. Cost of customer acquisition and loyalties, are two different things that don't match. When you say a cost of customer acquisition is X, you have to understand that that startup or that product or that service will only survive with that cost of customer acquisition if the loyalties are there. But unfortunately, the consumers today, whatever you are selling, whether it's to the farmer, whether it's from the farmer, whether it's to India, whether it's to Bharat, loyalties don't exist. Continuous marketing is required, continuous price consciousness is required. Becoming a brand is an expensive and a long journey. It's not as easy as it used to be 10 years ago or 8 years ago, because the markets are quite crowded. So you have to understand that if you don't have an advantage, if you don't have the ability to penetrate, if you don't have a critical advantage in the product or service, in the critical advantage in the go-to-market strategy, critical advantage in procurement and supply or experience, it will be very difficult to scale up. And obviously, when you can't scale up, raising money is equally difficult. So first and foremost, identify the product and the service that you're doing and does it match you and your co-founders and your team's ability to deliver what needs to be delivered? If there is a mismatch, or if there is not unfair advantage that you people have, it will always be difficult to scale up beyond a point. You can do a good business. I mean, you can do something in, let's say, one state in India and part of UP, but to go to Rajasthan, to Maharashtra, to Kerala, to Assam and Nagaland, it might be difficult. So you have to understand that whether you're trying to make a profitable business in the region that you're in, or are you trying to scale up and become an India-wide product or services company, is something that you. So you need to have that advantage to be able to go beyond a point. Doing a prototype, doing revenues locally or in a smaller market, and burning small amounts and surviving is okay. But to scale up, you really do need to have some undue, unfair advantage over others who can possibly do it. That's number one. Assuming that you have the right product or service, assuming that you are the right team to do it and you have that advantage, I personally feel that you have to be very, very careful, because technology today is very, very disruptive. AI, we all know, is fast catching up and will disrupt it. There are companies which are technology companies like Google's and Microsoft's of the world that will penetrate and disrupt the market that you are in. There are also companies like Adani's and Ambani's and others and Tata's and who were trying to penetrate into Bharat and trying to capture what needs to be done. So it's very, very important that you understand that the competition and the market outreach and the lucrative rural India or the Bharat is not just you who is thinking to penetrate, but there are many others, FMCG companies, technology companies. So you have to be very, very careful of not only just the direct competition in your field or domain, but from companies like all of these. So it's very important that you understand that very well. If you are aware of that, then I think you have a use case where you can scale faster, quicker, and do something. Secondly, don't try to do too many things. I have seen startups who have, let's say, they're trying to solve a problem for one type of crane or one type of geography or one type of terrain. They will say, oh, they're doing it in Rajasthan. They will either increase the geography or they will try and increase the product. They will try and have too many SKUs. It's very important that you focus on your core area first. It's very important that you establish yourselves in that area, and then you diversify, because it's not easy to have too many products or services. Too many products or services means more marketing, because if you're catering to different age groups, if you're catering to different geographies, if you're catering to different social strata, if you're catering to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, you understand that you have to spend more money on marketing to so many other people. So if you're focused on your age group, if you're focused on your social strata, if you're focused in your geography, you can actually spend less, grow in that market, become the king of that area, that product, that geography, that genre, and then you can obviously raise money and scale up into adjoining parts of India, or add more products at a later stage. So please stay focused. Don't try to do too many things. Assuming that you are sorted in that, you have the right technology. If you have an IP, if you have something that's patentable, if you have something that works and that is good, you always make sure that you protect yourselves. You have that, patented, because if you don't have that patented, you will obviously not be able to protect yourselves. So I think it's very important that you sign non-disclosure agreements with investors, you sign non-disclosure agreements with incubators and accelerators, and you make sure that you protect yourselves, because it's very important that IP-able products need to be protected. I think state governments and central governments do support in patent filing, and it's very important that you are also covered and cured in that. So it's very important that you do that. Now, when you start with the product or the service that you have, or the platform that you're trying to create, you have defined your product categories, you've defined your geography, you've defined the sector or the age. Now is the time that you start to test the waters. Now the problem sometimes arises is that you have everything in place: the right product, the right service, the right team, the right geography, the right market identification. But you sometimes don't realize that you are actually not focused on what the product should be doing or what the product is. So you have to be very very clear that you are targeting an audience or a buyer this thing where they are saving money or they are getting a better product. You or your suppliers are not selling you for less. There is no way that you can survive if they don't make more money or if they don't sell more. And lastly, you need to make money in between. If you are not taking your salaries, if you are giving a freemium model where 2 months are free, 3 months are free, 1 month is free, or buy one get one free, or get 1 acre for free and get to another, whatever you're trying to do, if all three people don't make money, it's very, sooner or later you will continue to burn and you will never be able to change that model. So it's very important that you absolutely make sure that it's a profitable business for the supply side, profitable business for the buyer side, and profitable for you and your team. If in that small pilot, in that small geography, in that small domain, you are not making all three ends happy and all three ends meet, it will not work. And it is especially in cases when your average order value is in three digits, 100, 200. When you're dealing in small ticket items where you're selling something for 100 rupees or 200 rupees or 500 rupees, you have to understand that scale is the key. The volume and numbers are the key. You cannot survive with just a few people. So in the cases of B2C models where average order values is small, everyone making money or everyone saving money is the most important thing. In B2B, in large supply side and buyer side situations, I can understand because it's one pilot and you are doing something for free for company A, but you will have 10 other companies take that product later on and make money. It's absolutely fine because the initial expense on software and technology, initial expense on branding, marketing, supply chain management, initial expense on user experience, all these things are investable, and that's fine for you to experiment at that point and burn, especially in B2B, because the cost of customer acquisition, the lifetime value of that customer, the average order value will be much higher than in a B2C or a D2C brand. So it's important that you differentiate between what is free, how much is free, when should it be free, who should it be free for, and eventually will it make money in terms of unit economics. Or you should have a break even point where if you sell to 500 people you will break even, or you sell to 10 B2B customers you would break even. So that roadmap in your mind, in your numbers and projections should be very very clear. So it's very important that you are clear on your freemium models, you're clear on why free now and why money later, how much money later, will that money be payable by them, will that be good enough for them, good enough for you, and good enough for the person who's supplying. It's very important that you have that clarity. If you don't have that clarity for later on, right now that burn or that um, validation will not work, because sooner or later it will be detrimental to the growth of the business. In I have also seen in many products with the smaller ticket size, or mostly in agri based products or services, distance becomes a problem. So, for example, if you're doing some processing to some food, for example, if you're selling something to the rural India, you can't be sitting in Lucknow and supplying to Kochi. You will have to put up a unit there, because when something is as cheap as 100 rupees or 200 or 500 rupees, the logistics cost will kill. And you're working on a very thin margin because you want to disrupt the market. You have to understand the cost of logistics will be very, very high. So it's very important that you have a business model that is hub and spoke, where you have your core in one city or one state, supply around that, then you go to a different geography. So it's very important in small ticket size products or services, you have your dealer distributor model, you have your plants or machinery that's required locally, or you have representatives at gram panchayat level, or a tier 4 town level, whatever that is required in terms of numbers that you have to achieve. You have to have a hub and spoke model, which is like a tree and it spreads across India, and that is what you should try in your pilot. So even if you are trying to do something in Madhya Pradesh, you have to understand that you have to cover Madhya Pradesh. How will it work? You're based out of Bhopal. You need to have a satellite in Indore. You need to go to other parts, and how that work. And so that model can, because see, as an investor, when you come to me that you've covered Madhya Pradesh and now you want to expand, I will see how good your management and supply side or the umbrella looks like. Once I'm sure of that, now I know that you can go to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and Assam and whatever and do the same thing there. And you needed this much money or you burned so much money in Madhya Pradesh. So multiply by 5, multiply by 10. This is the size of the state. And this, so it's very important that when you do a pilot, when you do a certain geography, when you do a certain state, you are absolutely um, clear in terms of how it is to be done, because the product, the service, the team, um, the funding that you might get by way of grants from state governments, central governments until this point are all waste if your execution is not good. So your operations and executions are equally important as are the product, the IP, the services, or the money that you get initially. It's very important that you think through, that you are trying to create processes not for just selling today and making money today, but for future. So if you're operating on just WhatsApp, you have to understand it will not work when you have 10,000 customers or 1,000 customers or whatever. You have to understand that you have to have the right technology. You might not have it today. You might say that we will raise money and do it, or you might get a grant from the state government or central government and then do it. But your clarity is what is needed, because if you don't have that clarity, I as an investor will feel that no matter how good you are, no matter how better you are, you will never be able to sell your product or service, or that might never reach the consumer that it needs to reach. So it's very important that you have that clarity in you. Secondly, never ever depend on one investor, never ever depend on one channel of sales, never ever depend on one channel of purchase. I've seen startups fail because they were not able to raise follow on rounds because they were depending on one or two investors. You have to diversify, you have to reach out, sure, select the right kind of match that who understands your domain, who's interested in what you're doing, who will agree to the kind of model that you have, and he or she aligns with what you want to raise. And that is how you should make sure that that funding is not dependent on one person, but more than one person, number one. Number two, on the sales side, if you are selling products online, it should be on e-commerce platforms. It should be your website. It should be your social media. It should be in store. It should be omni-channel. If it is just one channel and you're depending on one channel, I mean, no one has a product that people will line up and say, "Ki, I need, mujhe chahiye, mujhe chahiye." You have to understand that you have to approach the customer for 100 different directions. If you're not able to do that, you will absolutely get choked if you don't spend money on social media, if you don't spend money on SEO, if you don't push your e-commerce portals and don't negotiate with during sales that they have, or if you're not giving the right business advantage to dealer, distributor, whatever model you have, or representatives that you might have in India, it will fail. So you have to approach people from multiple channels. It's very important. Similarly, I have seen many startups fail because supply side is dependent on one person or one area or one product. See, if you have to understand that the funnel in the pipeline is supplying to 10 different customers, it needs to have 2 3 people supplying it, because dependence on one will always create a problem. You know, rather than that person taking advantage of you, or that person facing a challenge and not being able to supply to you, or whether being the reason, you have to understand you have spent money, time, energy. You have a team that is being paid. You have to scale up, and you've promised investors that you will grow month on month by so much amount. You cannot waste that time. You know, classic example is Paytm did not partner with any banks, was doing everything themselves because they wanted to be the bank themselves. Suddenly the government stopped something. They had to shut down for 1 month or 2 months. If they had banks in place, if they had partnerships in place, they would not have to shut down the payment or the toll booth or whatever. So many. So they lost so many customers because they were depending on just themselves. So it's very important that you have your supply side also very, very clear and robust. It's very important. You need to work on both your sales side, omnichannel, and also be sure that you have more than one, depending on the product and service you have, people supplying you the raw material that you need, or the technology that you need, or whatever manpower that you need for your startup. So it's very important that you stay focused on that. I think if you cover all of these, if you're clear and focused, and if you are at the right mentor, finding a good mentor is also important. If you can find good advisors, good mentors who understand your domain, who can help you with whatever you and your team lack. So let's say you lack in marketing and branding, maybe you need someone who has some experience in marketing and some sales. Reach out to him or her, understand what they would say, what you would do if you were in trouble. Similarly, on the product side, sometimes you need scientists, sometimes you need PhDs, you need domain experts. So all that is very, very important. Also, so have the right kind of advisors and mentors. Incubation centers and programs like these are great. Reaching out to your um, you know, incubation center mentors is also very, very important. It's very critical that you brainstorm, you talk to each other, you understand what is going on. So I think if it's all good, and government of any state government for that matter, and government of India are absolutely very, very positive about good products and services in this sector, especially in these sectors, especially, and funding of in terms of grants at early stage should not be a problem if you have the right product, right service, right team, and the right time to enter the market, and you're solving a good problem. So I think all of these are very, very important, and I personally feel that they can scale up. I think I'm done with my 20 minutes or more, actually, of session. I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Rahul?
So, sir,
I lost you. Hello?
yes, sir. My voice is echoing actually. So just to start the question, what are the common pitfalls that startups should avoid?
In my session, as I said, common pitfalls is overconfidence about products and services, not having the right team, or not having the right you know timing for the product and services, not looking at the competition that might come in. People go wrong in many directions because of all of that. So it's very, very important that you are absolutely in conversation or in alignment with what is needed at the time today. So I think pitfalls is burning too much, choosing the right product, not wrong product or team, not having the right timing for the market. All these things are very, very important. Hello?
Yes, sir. We lost you in between actually.
Oh, you lost me. When did you guys lose me?
Just 5 seconds.
Basically, not knowing your weaknesses, your challenges, or and being overconfident on the strengths is sometimes the pitfalls that people try to end up being in. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Yash. My voice is sorry.
Maybe there are two places that you have signed up in where you are.
No, I'm getting voice. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, every voice is echoing out. Okay, if I get it, question. See in agriculture industry and John New Hall.
I
Mahindra.
can't. No, I can't. You are breaking up. I think you should switch your video and ask the question. Just do audio. Just do audio. Switch
Okay.
off your video.
Audible?
Yeah, go ahead now. Try now.
Yeah, in agriculture industries, companies like John Deere, New Holland, Mahindra, and if a startup is product with a small machinery, compete with the product is large. So everyone will keep questions like, uh, why can't Mahindra, John replicate replicate your mark where you have a edge? So how to tackle that question?
So basically, we as investors are absolute bullies. We will ask you 100 different.
The process. So how you are going to educate the production system?
So your voice was not clear. It was breaking in the middle. Can you? Is your video on? No.
No, my video is off.
एक बार दोबारा
Complete them production. It's related